Oh,
give you guys
man.
a hot seat question for the hot seat, but that's okay. Make you guys dance on your toes here.
Have problems over there?
Uh-oh.
Everybody's like hearing badong.
I know, sorry. It's Lance here for not putting this thing in a reasonable. Everybody hear me okay? Or is there static?
Everybody's like hearing badong.
Hello, hello, hello.
Where are you walking to, Lance?
I'm walking to a
Hello.
beach called Makalawena
Oh, Makalawena.
Beach. It's Makalawena.
Don't talk about my mom like that.
No. There was a song about that, wasn't there?
We're trying to find a spot where we can hammock up and hang out in the shade for a little while.
That sounds way too stressful, Lance. You need to calm down over there.
It does not suck.
All right, everybody that's watching online, we will get started here momentarily.
Hammock there, hammock here, hammock over there. Yep. Yeah, it's live streaming already. We haven't started recording yet, but it is already live streaming.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Dude, Blake, I'm gonna put my hammock right here.
I might have to mute Lance.
Yeah, it's a lot of wind noise there, Mr. Lance.
Okay, here, I'm gonna try some.
We could just turn down his volume. It's kind of nice. It's kind of like a little breeze in the back over time.
I feel like we're really there.
That's what the old AirPods.
That's why you carry that around. Got it. Okay.
Is that better?
It actually is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there
It's
we
like
go.
the Hawaiian Bandito, though.
That's perfect. I love it.
Yeah. I look like a criminal, which I'm totally fine with, but
Lance is
less
going to get
wind
arrested
noise.
during this podcast.
A little behind the scenes for everybody watching right now.
Oh my gosh. Lance, hilarious, as always.
All right. Okay, I've got us recording.
That was late back there.
You ready there, Lance?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
All right, let's get this thing started. Hi, and welcome to the Dial Podcast. I am Jake Von During, and today I am here with Evan Price.
What are we drinking today, boys?
Whoa! What did that? Listen to that intro. What? Who is this guy across the table from me?
He's sitting in a new seat. It's entirely new.
We are drinking LaCroix, and it is fantastic.
Yeah, a little LaCroix and some coffee because I am tired, but more on that later.
Yeah.
So, what you sipping over there, Evan?
LaCroix. Yeah, Pina Frase. Pineapple strawberry, I think is what that is. It's pretty good stuff, though.
Good stuff, good stuff. And to his right, Mr. Matt LeGrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? How are you beachgoers going?
In case you're wondering, one of us is on a beach right now.
Yeah.
And it is not the three of us in this room.
You can hear it.
All right. and the person responsible for all that noise in the background, Lance Epler.
Hey, what's up? It is Lance Romance on location today. I am sitting on a beach in Hawaii. It's solidifying my reputation as the most hated man in America.
And he's wearing a bandana just to really solidify that right now.
I'm also wearing a bandana over my face to try to block a little bit of the wind noise so that you guys can still enjoy my terrible jokes and awful demeanor.
How sunny is it there, Lance, right now? Because those sunglasses are pretty intense.
It's like 82 degrees. It's 9 o'clock in the morning here in Hawaii. It's like 82 degrees and beautiful. So
nice.
Oh,
Perfect
man.
biking weather.
It's okay. Here it's actually
Yes.
really, really nice today. It is it's been a beautiful couple of days in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, it was so nice that I actually wore shorts for the first time yesterday. That
Yeah.
was
What?
That
I'm
was
wearing shorts
spectacular.
right now. It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah. I'm
wonderful.
busting out the shorts right now.
Yeah.
It's like fight through it.
Cool.
Yes, 56, perfect short weather.
Let's get into our back pedal. Evan, back pedal for us.
Speaking of good weather, I was up in Bellingham, Washington for the last 2 days. For anybody who
Nice.
doesn't, people not from this region, Bellingham is a nice little bay town about 4 hours north of here, about 2 hours north of Seattle. And I was lucky enough to be with a group up there training my brains out pretty much. But got up there Saturday morning, drove up early. I did a race straight out of the car, which
Did you warm up a little?
got myself about a 2-mile jog in right before, but it was basically drive 4 hours, jump out, and race.
Ouch.
So, I had to text my run coach, Matt, over here before the race because I have never raced an 8K before. So I had no idea what in the heck pacing for a 5-mile run is supposed to look like.
Right.
So the group, it was like the St. Patty's Day ones, which are always fun. St. Patty's Day races are always just a blast. And there was 2 very, very quick guys there. One of them who I would be training with for the rest of the week. His name was David. He's a pro triathlete located up in Bellingham. And he went out like a bat out of heck and went out in like 5:10 pace, I think, and just basically stuck right around between there and 5:15 when we were going up some of the hills, and I was not able to close the gap. But good way to start the weekend, and we basically rode and swam and ran a whole lot after that. So
Nice.
yeah. The riding up there, for anybody who's been around that area, there's like 3 lakes that are like basically encircle each other.
Yeah.
I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation of some of these, but that's kind of the joke. Is if you're not from Bellingham, you butcher the pronunciation of everything there because it's all Native American.
Oh, okay.
So it's like very hard words for me to pronounce. But there's Lake Smamish,
Okay.
Smamish, and then there's actually a Lake like that's shorter than that, just Smamish.
Oh,
So it's like,
people.
oh, I know, but I just butchered both of those, so I
Sure.
hope that somebody corrects my pronunciation on
There's
that.
an omissions.
Yes.
Don't worry.
There's a Lake Waka, I think was the other one, and then Lake Patton. Got Lake Patton. I can nail Lake Patton every time. But yeah, that was pretty much it. So both days we did basically rides around those and did a Chuckanut ride, which Chuckanut Drive just goes basically right along the Bay Coast with impossible views to beat. It's like comparative in this region, it'd be like a Cannon Beach sort of ride.
Oh, okay.
Just like going along the coastline, you kind of have those big lookout points. Just beautiful riding, but a lot of climbing, a lot of up and down.
And you had good people to ride with.
Yeah, definitely.
So you raced and then biked.
Yes, and then ran again, and then swam, and then woke up Sunday, and we did a duathlon, like a pseudo duathlon, which was fun. We did. We had 2 of the Western Washington cross-country runners out there with us.
Oh boy.
So that really pushed the pace on the run, like very, very fast. And we were running their trails too, so it's traily, hilly run, cross-country style running. And these kids were strong as heck. So
They were trying to go hard, or were you guys trying to hammer?
they had raced the day before. So when we came off the bike the second time, we kind of waited for the cross-country kids, and one of them really pushed the pace, like really, really hammered off the bike.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So they were
Yeah.
having fun with you guys.
Oh, they were having fun. Yeah, they enjoyed it because David, the guy who I was training with the whole weekend, he used to run for Western Washington, so he's a Western Washington alum, and has just gotten faster since he left. And he's now I think he runs for an 8K under 26 still. So
nice.
yeah, I'm moving pretty well.
What was the advice on the 8K? Just run a little bit faster than a 5K and a little bit slower than a 10K?
That was it. No, Matt gave me some good advice. If I had the legs, I think I would have been able to follow that. It was
it was hard because first of all, you don't know if it's a hilly course or not.
It was, yeah, it was.
If it's
pretty
hilly,
hilly.
it's totally hard to do
Yeah.
anything.
Well,
but
we
if
didn't know
it's
that.
flat and it's road,
Yeah.
then my expectations for you were pretty high.
Yeah, I mean,
Pretty high.
I ran 5:23, 5:24, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the first mile was the 2 leaders went out just so fast, and then we took a hard left and went straight uphill.
Did they go 5 flat in the first mile?
They went well. We had a sharp uphill at the
right.
end of the first mile, but they went like 5:10, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they were not messing around off the gun.
That would be. I mean, I'm sure there was kids that ran with you on Sunday. Same thing. Like
Oh, yeah.
they probably raced.
They went out hard.
They
Yeah.
did indoor. It's indoor track or outdoor track right now.
First outdoor track meet.
But so collegiate runners, for those of you guys that aren't super familiar with United States collegiate running, most of the season they run an 8K race, which is almost 4 miles. But in every race, the expectation is first mile is going to be sub 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And usually, if you're
In a
you know,
triathlon, that is exactly what you don't want to do. Usually, is go out all out in that first mile off the bike.
it depends on the course, conditions and stuff like that. But pretty much, even if it's hilly, cross country, whatever, sub 5 for the first mile, hang on for dear life the rest of the race.
Yeah.
It's basically how you race a lot of this. If you're fast enough, which I never was, you could potentially go out sub 5 and be comfortable enough
And
to
still hang around there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Those are your guys winning things. So
Yep.
yeah. But yeah, it's fun to get to train with fast runners and fast bikers, and I'm lucky to get to put in good training each week. But I am tired now. I balked pretty hard Sunday, so yeah.
working pretty hard at the duathlon thing. or-
We did a long ride after the duathlon,
You guys are crazy.
and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich was not quite enough to get me through that one. So
How far was long?
uh,
Did you end up with 100 for the day?
for the day, no, I ended up with like 60s or so, somewhere in the 60s, I think, the second day, and then the first day was 60s or 70s, somewhere
Jeez.
in there. Yeah.
Ouch.
But yeah.
Cool. Hey, Lance, you still there?
I am still here. Are you guys just all you're hearing is me breathing too heavy and the wind noise? Is it just being crazy?
It's getting a little bit better. I think I got you contained a little bit on our end. So,
Yeah.
How was your week, man? Why don't you backpedal for us?
Oh, well, if you can see the live stream and you look at where I'm at, that gives you a little bit of an idea of my week. I'm sitting on a beach in Hawaii, and it has just been fantastic. We've only been here for a couple of days. This was a spring break trip that I'm taking with 2 of my grown children. So me and my wife and Lake and Kelty, who have both been on the podcast before. They're here joining us. Lake has now brought me a towel for my head so I can sit in this beautiful hammock on the beach. Thank you, Lake. He just said you suck.
Yeah, I think
So-
we all concur with that. Yeah.
So, but yeah, other than that, I had a pretty solid week of training. Actually, my recovery numbers improved pretty drastically, and
Okay.
I came back around pretty good. So, I'm feeling good. Put in like 250 miles or something this week, and I don't know how many hours that was. Did a ride in Utah with because I had to drive to Utah before we flew to Hawaii, and then we've only been here one day, so I only did one ride here in Hawaii so far. I'm on the big island of Hawaii, and then I don't know. I'm planning to do some other stuff, but I also want to hang out with my family. So
Excellent.
I have little to complain about, and if I did, you would all just curse me even more. So I'm not going to.
Don't you have to worry about the tide out there, though, Lance? I mean, that could creep up towards you there.
No, I'm in a perfect spot.
Oh,
I'm
you're
in
in
an
a
elevated
hammock, too.
position.
You don't even have to worry about that. That's tough.
That's too funny.
It's pretty good.
Good times. Matt Legrand, how was your week?
The week was a bit of a struggle. I didn't put a lot of work into my previous week, but I think I hit kind of those key workouts that I needed to do. We did like the team ride on Tuesday on Zwift, which was fantastic, and then I did a swim bike run on Saturday. Nothing crazy. Actually went out with Alan Plank, who friends of our podcast know him, and he's in super good shape. We had a lot of fun, just kind of totally cruising around. Very enjoyable ride. And then got a long run in yesterday, 11 miles, which was okay. I was pretty happy with it. Ran into a friend on the run and ended up running with him for half of it. And yeah, and then my swim today was fantastic. This morning, I typically will do a swim prior to the podcast here, so I did a swim prior to this and got 4,000 meters in and some fast stuff. Felt good. Felt really good.
That's good.
I know. I feel like maybe things are just kind of starting to come back around. After the training camp, I felt miserable for basically a couple weeks, and then I think now things are maybe I'm a little too optimistic, but things are starting to look good. So, yep.
That's good.
Yeah. How about you?
Good
stuff.
deal, man.
Me, I had a busy week again, like y'all. Did training, did the Team Zwift ride, and that went really well. My legs were feeling pretty good that night, and just kind of set myself up midweek to make a decision. And the decision was to race or not to race my mountain bike. And ultimately, I decided that I'm going to do it. Went ahead and signed up and drove all the way out to Echo, Oregon, which is a 3-hour car ride.
Okay.
And went out there with 5 other teammates, and we all raced and had a good time. It was just an awesome course. So it's about 2 miles in gravel roads, and then it's about 20 miles of single track trails that you're racing on, and it's like you're either going up or down or you're turning. So it's one or the other, or one of those 3 things. You're pretty much in a stance where you're constantly using your body for, I'm going to say, about an hour and 30 minutes ish, for that form. Well, probably a little bit more than that, but anyway, neither here nor there. By the end of that race, I was limping in with my shoulder being completely just exhausted, fatigued, and smoked and done.
Wow.
But the cool part about it was I managed to hold on for second place, so I found the podium.
Yes.
So,
wow.
Yeah, that was really fun. And what was even better than that was teammate Chris Sarrett won the race. He got first place, so we won to the
Did
podium.
you guys work together at all, or was there not an opportunity to do that?
On the ride out, so it's a neutral rollout. You're riding out on just the roads, and then you turn left onto the gravel road, and as soon as they turn left, the neutral car peels off, and then it's game on. And it was a pretty big field. There must have been, I don't know, 40, maybe 50 people in the field. They had like a couple different things grouped together, all Cat 2 stuff, and it's on. So what you got to do is get yourself in the right position so that when you do get out to where the single track trail starts, you want to be as close to the front as you possibly can, because it becomes really difficult to pass people on single track trails. And you're dealing with like a lot of the goat heads, which are like these little thorny things. You're dealing with like sage, because it's all high desert kind of stuff. Okay. And there was even still little patches of snow out there, and we. Anyway, we're on the gravel roads, and we're all positioning ourselves. And Chris and myself were just inching our way closer to the front. And then there's another last left-hand turn to head towards those single-track trails, and you've got maybe a half mile to set yourself up. We hit the single-track trails, and Chris was in first position. I was in second position, and the young gentleman who won the cross national championships for the 14, 15-year-olds, Ian, I can't remember his last name. He's from down in
Brown.
Ian Brown.
Ian Brown.
And from Bend, Oregon, was right behind me. So it was the 3 of us, and we just hit the single tracks as hard as we could. And we all rode together for probably about the next 4 miles-ish. Ian finally came around me because that kid is just wicked fast and very polite too. Came around, and
nice.
I was on his wheel for a little while, and he was following Chris, and eventually he went around Chris, and then Chris tried to stay on his wheel, and I was looking down at my heart rate saying, all right, I cannot sustain 180, 185 beats per minute for the rest of this race. So I slowly let them inch off because Chris was trying to keep up with him. And I think Chris eventually let him go as well. And in that process, he probably put, I'm going to say about a minute into me. And I tried to hold that minute as best as I could. And, as the race kind of wore on, he was putting in like a second here, a second there, because I think I forgot how to handle a mountain bike, trying to hold the right lines and trying to power through corners and trying to trust a bike that I literally had only ridden. That was the third time I'd ridden that bike.
Yeah.
So, and I hadn't ridden a mountain bike for 9 months prior to that.
Yeah.
So I'm learning to trust this bike, and I'm learning to trust my shoulder and myself, and trying to do the best to find some good lines. So but all the while keeping an eye on Chris and keeping an eye on the guy who was behind me, and I was constantly, every opportunity I had, was trying to put in a second or two on him. So I had a pretty good gap. I think I ended up beating the third place guy by, I have to go double check the numbers, but I think it was close to 2 minutes, and Chris ended up getting me by about 2 minutes. So we had a nice spaced out, and my God, Chris is so strong.
Yeah, he is.
Sarah is so strong, and he's the nicest guy too. So you're totally happy for him.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you couldn't be a nicer guy to win that race. So yeah, that was a good time, and we got to do our little podium thing.
So did the young kid, did he have mechanical? You're saying he was out front for a little while?
Oh, he was. Well, he's a Cat 2, but he's in a
Gotcha.
different category of Cat 2. So Chris and I were racing in the 40 to 49 Masters Cat
Gotcha.
2s, and he was racing in the whatever it was. I don't know.
Yeah.
Open Cat 2s.
Juniors probably.
It wasn't
Oh,
juniors.
just open Cat 2.
Just open Cat
Okay.
2. So I think overall I got third place, and for my category I got second place.
Yep.
So
Gotcha. That makes sense.
yeah. So that was that, and then my original goal was all right, I'm gonna do this mountain bike race. There's 2 races this weekend. The other race was Dirty Circles, which is a little circuit race, if you will, like a little 6-mile loop, and I wanted to go out there and do that. I love that race just because it's early season. It's fun. It's fun to go out there with the team. It's not the most spectacular race. It's a little boring sometimes even, but it's still a fun race to do because it's the first real road race of the season. When I woke up on Sunday morning, my shoulder was so toasted that I went ahead and threw everything in the truck, and I went up to the race, set up the team tent, and got all the stuff set up for everybody to enjoy their day. And I left my bike at home on purpose, which is a good thing, because had I brought it, I would have convinced myself to go register, and I would have done the race.
Yep.
So instead, I went up there and hung out with the team. I drove one of the lead vehicles for the men's 4-5 group, so I got to kind of chaperone them around the course.
Was that the race that there was a crash? Didn't one of our teammates? I don't know. I just saw on Facebook.
He was in a different field, so I actually had to neutralize the race that I was leading, and I had to get them safely around that crash. That was teammate Chris Hitchcock. He got mixed up in a little something. I'm told that there was a guy who swerved, grabbed brakes, and caught somebody else's wheel and went down right in front of Chris when they were moving pretty good, probably going 25-ish, and Chris used his face to break the fall, so it was pretty rough.
He's okay, right?
He is okay. He got a couple stitches, nothing broken, nothing severe. He did get a little bit of a concussion, and I'm going to follow up with him probably later on today to make sure he's doing okay, hanging in there. So, but anyway, it was a great day. I think we had something like 12 or 14 podiums yesterday in all the different categories. It's just
my gosh.
unreal. So, I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. But it was a great weekend, and like Evan, I am exhausted. It's been a lot of going to bed late and getting up early and long days. So
Some tired people at this
You
time.
know, Jake, I'm super proud of you for doing that mountain bike race. That's a lot of pressure on that shoulder that isn't completely healed, and I'm just super happy that you made it out there. I was bummed that race was supposed to be a couple weeks ago.
it was,
And it had to get postponed because of snow levels on the course, which it needed to be postponed. But I was bummed because I was really hoping to be out there and race with you. But
It was fun.
all
We
good.
missed you out there. That's such a fun course. I honestly, I would almost consider making that drive again to go back out there just to ride it, not race it, but just to ride it because it's so fun.
Yeah.
It's 20 miles of single track, and there's even more that we didn't get to do. And it's just fun stuff, and it wasn't overly technical at all, so that part was good for me at least. But you just really go out
mostly
there and-
smooth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's mostly smooth, and all of the turns are banked nicely, and everything was just kind of plush. It was a fun ride. So I'd like to go do it again. But
Well, good for you, Jake. That's awesome.
thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, let's get into today's topic, which is not a topic. It's the hot seat. The hot seat's back, guys.
I like this topic, actually.
The hot seat's, the
I
hot
like
seat's
this one.
funny.
It's a little bit
dangerous.
unpredictable. I can't look at it and plan. I like it's just like your raw reaction. What is your raw reaction to what we're talking about here?
So we all have a question. All of us have one. Some of us have 5.
I got 4 more jumping around in my head too. So,
and we're gonna run around the table and we're gonna ask questions. And none of us have shared our questions with the other guys sitting
There's
at the
been no
table,
cheating.
and the one jackhole that's sitting in a hammock on the beach of Hawaii. So we'll run around the table. And Fair enough. Yes. Evan, let's start with you, bud.
okay, so I've got one since we're at the beginning of the road season now.
Okay.
So this next upcoming race, correct me if I'm wrong, is Piece of Cake, right? Okay.
Correct.
So where is Piece of Cake for one?
Hubbard, Oregon.
Hubbard, Oregon. Yes. So
Near Salem, Oregon.
Yep.
That's yeah.
now I know that there was a little bit of a rivalry between these two teams last season. So I'm assuming this rivalry is going to continue. It's a very healthy, good rivalry, but I'm assuming it's going to continue into this year. It's the ATI team out of Portland and Dialed.
The ATI.
Oh, I thought it was
TAI.
TAI, my bad.
Therapeutic
TAI.
Associates. Yeah.
They're therapeutic. I should know that
You
being
should
a
know that.
physical therapist.
Yes.
My bad. TAI team out of Portland and Dialed. A lot of shared podiums between those two teams.
Yeah,
Am I
yeah,
correct?
yeah.
That's it. Being somebody who did not road race last year, every single Facebook picture I saw had one of those two guys on basically every single podium that I
Yeah.
saw. So, going into this weekend, which team grabs more podiums?
I'm going to say Dialed because they're not as heavily represented in all of the categories. They're kind of more of an elite team, to be honest with you.
Because they have
So
a lot of 1-2s,
they have
don't
a lot of 1-2
Yes.
Yeah.
guys, and they
A lot of
represent those-
Masters guys, though.
They do have a lot of
Yeah.
Masters guys still high up, like 1-2s and some 3s. And they do have, they do have people in all of the different categories. But I think if you just take a look at all of the categories as a whole,
Yeah.
I think we're better represented. They're a pretty well-rounded team, though. So your question still does carry merit. Like, who's going to have more podiums? Gosh, I'm just going to be a homer and say my team.
I'm going to say Dial too, but this is my question I'm asking you. So,
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. Just for kicks, I can say Therapeutic Associates. Only because, I mean, I really think Dialed obviously would win that. Only because, like, the group is big. We have a bigger group than they do, and that just tends to fill out some different categories and things like that.
we're
And-
really represented through the lower categories, like Jake was saying, too.
Yeah.
Like a very good men's for a 4-5 team, too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
3 4s and 5s were very well represented in
And
all
Kim
age
will be
categories.
jumping on every single podium that she races in.
Hopefully, yeah. She's
So,
had the
yeah.
flu. I touched
Oh,
base with
has
her
she?
this morning because I don't know why. It just popped in my head. I'm like, you know what? I haven't seen or heard from her in a while. And she wasn't at the race over the weekend. So I
Yeah.
just shot her a text to see how she was doing. And sure enough, she's got that flu that's going around. She's been down for the count for like 9 days or something
I
like
got
that.
a kid with
that's-
the flu.
Yeah,
It's
that's
bad.
rough.
That flu's been sticking around for a long time.
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, that's a good question. I honestly, if I was just going to look at it from a pure statistics standpoint and numbers, I'm going to probably go with our team. And that's Homer side apart.
Yeah.
Just based on the numbers.
Dr. Lance will be back for a Piece of Cake, correct?
I don't.
No.
Yes.
Yes, you will.
Yes,
Yes.
you
Oh,
will.
really?
Okay.
Yeah, my plan is to be there and race that. Yeah.
What categories are you going to race,
So-
Lance?
He has
Um,
4-5s.
I
3-4s
have to
now.
race the 4-5s. Yeah, so I'll race the Masters 4-5s. That's the
If
plan.
I'm not mistaken, there's a Masters 3-4-5 and not a 4-5.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I might like that better.
So you'll actually have fun because you'll be racing out there with Chris Hannell and Sean Martin and a few of those other guys that are a lot of fun to race with that I really enjoyed
Yeah.
racing with last time. So you guys can go out there and have your shenanigans.
Now, why do they? Why is it so it's a Masters 3-4-5 and then a Masters 1-2 at this race?
Correct.
Okay.
It just depends on what the promoter wants to do, how he
Yeah.
wants to break it up.
Yeah.
So
You know. Yeah, that one's a 3-4-5, and then if you fast forward to like Kings Valley, they don't have that option. It's Masters 1-2,
Period. Okay.
and then it's Masters 3-4-5. So
Got it.
Yeah, it just kind of is what it is. So, well, actually, I think I said that wrong. Maybe it's Masters
Just an
1.
open 1-2, and then they have a Masters 3-4-5,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. So, yeah, I'll have to go double check
Okay.
that. But yeah, they set their categorization up a little bit differently. So you just
Okay.
kind of have to pick and choose which one's going to be the best for you.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately for me, I'm not going to be there for that race.
What do you have going on, Jake?
I am going to be out of town, and I'm hoping my kids aren't listening to this, or that they don't listen to this. I don't think they do. I don't think they really care.
Are we just barely not family friendly enough for them not to listen, or is that?
No, probably they just don't care. Like, Dad, shut up! Stop talking about bikes. So
Lance's no pants comments puts
yeah.
it just into the PG-13
There you go.
PG-13
Yeah,
range.
we're going to be out of town. We're going to be down in Southern California. We're taking the
Oh.
kids to Disneyland, and then we are going to sneak over to Palm Springs and stay at a little place down there that's got, I think I read, like 9 or 10 swimming pools on the property.
Are you gonna bring a bike?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I really don't know. I'm going to
Okay.
try and spend time with the family. So
Yeah,
at worst, I will be hitting up the hotel gym and sitting on the little spin
You
bike,
can
which
just
is
rent.
rough.
Palm Springs has some nice bike shops. You can just rent from there
Yeah.
if you want to.
Could do that.
Yeah, I mean, I could always borrow a bike from a friend in Southern California, but while we're there, we're going to be doing the whole Disneyland thing.
Yeah.
And as Matt knows, there's no time for riding bikes
Right.
when you're doing the Disneyland thing. So I don't
Yeah.
know. We'll figure it out when
You
I
can
get
swim in a Mickey Mouse pool.
there. Yep.
You're going to be walking about 12 miles either way, so.
So yeah, that's my thing. So
Okay,
Nice.
so there goes one of our podiums. Dialed is going to
Yes.
lose one there, so Jake's.
I don't know
yeah.
if I was going to be a podium contender. I was.
I
Just
think
gonna
you
be out
were.
there helping putting somebody on the podium.
Yeah.
So yeah. But anyway, let's roll on to the next question. Matt, what's your question?
I got a tough one for you guys. Are you guys ready for this? Lance, are you ready?
I'm ready. Roll it.
Okay. Name one or two things not to do during a race.
Triathlon or bike racing?
Doesn't matter.
Just
even
for
be-
anybody?
Could be a running race too.
Because
Let's.
I'll tell you
Because
what.
this is the beginning of our race season.
Yeah.
We have talked about, okay, here's a couple things for racing. Like, here's things to do. Here's things to think about. Here's things. We've talked about all this stuff. What should our listeners not do?
I have one that you should do in triathlon and
Ugh.
one that you shouldn't do in cycling.
Okay.
And it's the same one. So I've seen this done. Back when I was in undergraduate school in Ohio, I had a very good friend of mine named Florian Strafe who was from France. And in France, they are very casual about men relieving themselves
Oh, this is what I was going to talk.
anywhere in public. We would be riding. Now this was Ada, Ohio, so we're in rural Ohio.
Yeah.
We would be on Main Street, and Florian would need to use the restroom, and he would pull over at the one stoplight. I mean, he could wait 5 minutes, and we would be in cornfields. But instead, he would debrief himself and pee right there, just on the corner, in the middle of Ada, Ohio, Main Street. Now, during a race once, this was his first race when he was racing in America. Now, he was a very strong French cyclist, very, very good. And the race starts, and he realizes that he has to pee, so he just goes to the back and, starts peeing off the side, which in Europe is completely normal, and if you're a professional cyclist riding in the Tour de France, 120-mile stage, it's something you do. Completely good. This is a 42-mile road race. Like, the fact that you couldn't have decided to do that right before, and he does it right in front of the, cop
official.
guy. Yeah, the official cop guy,
Yeah.
who's just so shocked by it. He's like, you can't do that. And Florian tells him to go do something with himself and rides back into the group. I mean,
That's-
Florian the entire season was always doing things that made the officials mad. But in a bike race in America, if it is not a Cat 1, 2, 3 race that's going north of 70 miles, just use the restroom before. I don't think they're going to the back of the group, especially in more races that are in very populated areas. You're not riding in the Tour de France.
Right.
This is not something that you can just go to the back and be like, all right, I'm going to hold on to the team car here while I take a leak out the side.
Jeez.
But yeah,
Good one. Good one.
in triathlon, though,
Yes.
you have to do that.
You have to pee yourself.
I mean, if
Well, you don't have to. They have
It's-
porta potties. You have options.
yeah, but still,
But
you should probably just pee yourself.
The time
Yeah.
is ticking.
Wh-
So.
Which is a skill set, actually. It is not
is.
easy to do, to ride a bicycle and relieve yourself
Yeah.
at the same time. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think
Lance?
I ruined a pair of shoes doing that.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember Lance talking about this.
gotta
Yeah.
wash those shoes out if that's
I
or
won't do
burn
that
them.
anymore.
or burn them.
You got any little tips for us on that
Lance,
question there, Matt?
think-
Did I just
not
take
to do.
everybody's?
Other than don't pee yourself. The one thing you cannot do is forget to drink or eat.
Yeah.
You've got to get some calories in you if you're racing somehow. And it is easy to get in
Nutrition. There's something about
Inner-
nutrition.
Yeah, you've there. It's easy to get into race mode and just put your head down and start hammering, and forget to try to keep in calories, because once you're in a deficit, that's really hard to make up.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and Lance, you're so right. I think racing is so different than training, because somebody who hasn't raced before can look at a 42-mile race and be like, well, I go outside in 42 miles and bring
Hardly
maybe
drink
half a
anything, yeah.
bottle. Yeah, half a bottle. But what you don't realize is during that race, you're burning matches left and right.
Yeah.
The difference between a 2-hour effort at threshold and at zone 1 calorie burn wise can be almost 2 times difference. You could burn close to 2,000 calories on a bicycle in an all-out 2-hour effort. You could burn 800 calories in that same sort of time period if you're just soft pedaling the entire time. So
Right.
understanding what that does to your body, trying to bring in breaks all the time is important.
Gotcha.
You got anything for us not to do?
Yeah, don't change your routine.
Yeah.
On all fronts, don't change your food routine or your dietary routine of what you typically eat before you go out and do a training
Right.
session or a workout. Don't change up what you've got going on for that day. Don't I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't show up to the race.
Make sure you
and
eat
do
sushi.
everything different. Yeah.
Yeah.
You eat sushi before your races. People make sure. Time. Just don't change up your routine. Like, work your race into your routine so it's like the normal protocol for you. And if you are typically used to, say, training at nighttime, you need to start changing things up so that your
Yes.
training starts to
Yes.
happen in the morning, because your body, believe it or not, will not perform the same way
Yeah.
Right.
if you're going to be training at a different time. So
This is huge for triathletes
Yeah.
because our races start. I mean,
Super early.
There are full Ironmans that start like 6:30 a.m.
Yep.
And for me this year, I'm starting even half an hour earlier than I'm used to.
Yeah.
So, as a triathlete, you better be getting up and getting your swims in early. I know that doesn't fit into everybody's schedule, but like you better be used to swimming hard at the 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Really early times.
Yep.
how about you, Matt?
Well, so when I was thinking about this, one of the videos that I want to make is basically whenever we have these hot seat questions, I'm like, okay, which videos am I about to make, or have I recently made? And then it gives me ideas for hot seat questions and things like that. But the video is going to be like, don't try new things for races, which is basically your recommendation. Or the other way to think of it is like, test everything that you're going to use for racing. So no new tires, no new even like, make sure you've tried the helmet, make sure you've tried the sunglasses that you're going to use. Like, you don't know how things are going to affect you. And what I saw in running a lot growing up was like, people would come in and, they'd want to buy a new pair of shoes for their marathon that was tomorrow. And they want to buy a new kit or whatever, because this is going to look so cute on my race tomorrow. And I would always, at that point, they probably have kind of already made that decision that they're going to do whatever it is that they're going to do. And they don't want to hear some like snot-nosed kid like being like, yeah, you should probably wear the shoes that you've been training in for your marathon tomorrow. And they're like, no, I want the clean, nice new shoes, or whatever. It's like, okay,
What
good
do
luck.
you know, kid? You haven't run a mile in your life.
Yeah, exactly. So
You're so small.
So very similar to yours, Jake, is just like, don't try anything crazy new. Like, test all the things. Does that make sense?
Makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
has to
crazy.
be tried and proven.
And this is why I think also, so like looking at a sport like running or triathlon, like we're not racing always as much as the cyclists are. So I feel like cyclists are like the experts of race day preparation. Like they for 6 months are racing basically every single weekend.
that's
So
true.
it's like cyclists get down what they are going to do the Friday, Saturday before a race that's on Sunday, or a Friday before a Saturday, Sunday race.
It's because you have like a cycling season,
Yes.
which, a lot of, like, if you're doing a marathon, like, there's no marathon season. It's like,
You got a marathon,
Same thing a lot with some of the triathlon stuff.
Yeah.
But growing up running, it was different because you would have
You
a
were racing a
cross-country
lot,
season,
yeah.
and you would race every weekend, or an indoor track season.
And this is where I think it's important. If you are that triathlete who's got 1, 2, 3 big races for a year, or that runner who just has a marathon, do other little races.
Yes.
So do a bike race.
Yeah.
Do a sprint triathlon. In my case, jump into a bunch of open run races right now. Like, jump in a pool and do a master swim race. Like, do little different races to give yourself that taste of preparing for a race.
Right.
And I think that lessens the blow of, all right, let's take Matt's case. I've been training for Ironman Whistler for months and months and months and months, and now race day's here, and my anxiety is so built up because I haven't done a race day in 10 months. Yeah.
Well, and I take it definitely at least one step further, where it's like, I raise myself into shape a little bit, and that a lot of that is like then you have all the gear kind of prepped, and you kind of know what to expect. And I use a lot of those races. Again, I get into some like I don't have as much of a problem with like race entry fees and things like that because the races do get expensive, but the gear and things like that, like I test all that stuff in races so that it's like if I have some race, like even Blue Lake, it's what it will be like one of our first races, or at least one of my first races. If I want to try something new, no problem. I can do it in that race, which again, I just said don't try new things in races, but it's not that important of a race that I can test whatever it is that I want to test.
Yeah, exactly.
Without too much of a consequence if there's a problem. I probably won't test too much new stuff, but like you kind of have to dial in nutrition. You have to test all this stuff. You just don't want to
make sure your aero position's good. Make sure the bike still works.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully some of that stuff is taken care of before the race. But
gotcha. Lance, do you have a hot seat question for us?
The questions I always tend to come up with tend to have to do with goals.
Yeah.
And I may have asked this before, but I think it's good for us to kind of review it. Now that our season has kind of started a little bit, what's the major goal you have for the season?
Well, so you guys all know mine. Like I've definitely talked about this before, and I've been pretty public about it. Like Ironman Whistler is definitely the premier goal for me for the year, for the season. And then within that, I'll break it up. I'll say like, goal is to get there and be healthy. Next goal is like to finish that race. And then I think some stretch goals would be like, potentially try to do well in my age group. I would love to PR. I just don't think that might not be a realistic goal, but I mean, absolutely, if I were to get close to a personal record, that would be huge. So some things like that for sure, but they all revolve around that Whistler race. So hopefully I can get there healthy.
Yeah.
Love that.
What's going to hold you back from hitting a 955? I guess Whistler's a tougher course.
Very tough course.
Tougher course. Yeah.
So is there a way to kind of compare the two together? Is there like a handicap that you can put on Whistler? Like if you did 955 in Arizona.
Well, it's just one of those things.
How does
where
that
it's
translate?
If I was 959, 959 and 9, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like 10 hours is such a big, barrier number that like if you're 10 hours and 5 minutes, like it's just not as much fun. So, breaking 10 hours, I'd be super pleased with that, even if I didn't break 955. Is there a handicap there? I don't know exactly how I would figure that out. It probably would all come down to the bike and biking over so many hills. Yeah. But it could be
how much elevation gain there is on that bike.
I actually think this year's is a new course, correct? And I think that the elevation gain is almost 10,000 feet.
Yeah.
So
ridiculous.
I think even a 1030 is very comparable to Arizona's 955. Honestly.
That's nearly 1,000 feet per 10 miles that you're riding. It's
huge,
just a little bit under that. That almost puts it into like, which bike do I ride?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you contemplating that right now?
I've thought about it, and typically anytime you aerodynamics typically trump. I mean, if you're because what you can do is you can look at your average miles per hour that you will hold for the 112, and aerodynamics will trump. Basically climbing, unless you end up climbing up to a finish line, then you end up using your aerodynamics pretty.
Or if it's but those aren't incredibly technical descents, right? They're pretty straightforward descents.
Yeah, some of them are straight. So
I'd rather be on the aero bike on a pretty straightforward descent.
And you guys comfortable on the drops, like flying downhill?
I'm comfortable to a certain degree.
Or not the drops, but the air bars.
Once
we're gonna make you comfortable this summer. We'll get there.
I mean, maybe it's like basically you get to 50 miles an hour, which you can do on that course, and that's fast. That's scary fast. Yeah. So
do you stay in the aero bars or do you go on the base bar?
You should stay in the aero bars, but at that point, basically anything kind of over 40 or 45 is basically where I'll be like, I'm gonna put, I'm gonna sit up just a touch, and probably, I'll probably do the lean over and get my hands out a little bit because they're more stable that way.
Gotcha.
So,
do I kind of like for triathletes know what I'm talking about here. So underneath the aero pad, you still have some base bar space right there. So I'll usually squeeze my hands underneath there and hold in,
So your elbows
and
in the
I'll
arrow.
kind of get my chin almost onto the arrow bars. There's kind of
I
where,
feel like you have more
where I'll sit.
control there.
Have you ever been in
I
that
do-
position and caught something that kind of gave you the wobble and like
Yes.
scared the crap out of you?
So when I was at Worlds in Chattanooga, I got into that position on the descent, started going about 54, 55 miles an hour. That was the first time in my life I was descending well, I'll say, because that was the race of the year for me. So I was like, I'm just gonna go all out here, and I hit a pothole and saw my entire life flash before my eyes for a second. So
jeez.
yeah,
That just gives me the heebie-jeebies.
it was not my bike handling; it was luck that kept me on the bike there. But
Jeez.
mhm.
You're going to be up there doing that race too, right?
Not this season, but I will be up there supporting Matt. Is my plan actually.
So you're going to fly up there, or you're going to drive up there, whatever it is.
Yeah, Cassie and I are going to drive up there and do a training weekend. So
So how do you recommend that somebody that's going to be going out on that kind of course? How do you guys know for sure which bike is going to be the best bike?
Yeah. So this is you ask a great question, but here's the thing is I think that course has enough rolling sections in it too, to where I still think you get more of a benefit on the aero bike.
Gotcha.
Now, I would not have a disc for that course.
Gotcha.
I would say you go if you have 404s, 808s was as deep as you would ever go, but
Yeah.
I think 404s would be more where you want to be.
yeah.
Matt may be racing Envy's 7.8s, which I think would be perfect because the 7.8s for Envy are really light.
Yeah.
But that's the course where I think weight actually really matters.
Huh.
And this is where Matt's going to have an advantage over, I think, a lot of the triathlon field, is because those stronger cyclists usually in triathlon are bigger guys. Like, usually
Yeah.
guys who kind of come from cycling and can put out a little bit more power.
Yeah.
Matt being a smaller frame guy on a course with almost 10,000 feet of elevation gain,
Yeah.
his legs are going to be okay for that run because
Yeah.
he's not having to push 185 pounds uphill. He's only having to push, Matt, what do you weigh, 102 pounds or something like that? So, yeah.
You've done how many Ironman?
I've done 3 of them.
What's the most elevation gain that you've dealt with on a particular Ironman?
So 2 of the Ironmans I did were in Ironman Florida, and I don't know, there's like 100
feet.
feet of elevation gain for the whole race.
Negative 5 feet for the
Stupid.
entire-
It's
There's a speed bump
Yeah.
somewhere.
But the other one I did was Ironman Canada, and it was back when they held the race in Penticton. And I want to say we went over 2 mountain passes during that course, and I want to say it was like 6,000 or 7,000
Yeah,
feet of
that's a-
climbing. I
That's
don't
a lot
remember,
for
but
Ironman.
yeah.
Made sense for
But
you
I
to
do
stand-
remember.
Oh, sorry, it made sense for you to stand on a time trial bike for that, though. Correct?
I think in a triathlon, regardless of elevation gain, you're going to be faster on a time trial bike.
Gotcha.
And I think Evan kind of nailed it. The difference is whether you run a disc in the back or not, and that would depend on wind conditions. Yeah.
And I think
So-
that there are triathlons where they have like an Alpe d'Huez triathlon where you bike straight up. and
That
it's-
one, I'm taking
right.
a road bike,
So
yeah.
there
Right,
are
yeah.
very far and few situations where you would not use a TT bike. I can't think of any
Yeah.
Ironman races, obviously, that would fall into that category. But you basically have to have
I
a net
think-
incline, and it has to be a certain grade because even if you're
Does Whistler have the most elevation of any Ironman race
I think
right now with the new course?
it will, yeah, because this will be the first time that they've done this course.
What's the other? There's a course in Europe that has a ton too.
I don't know.
I can't think off the top of my head, but
I can't think either.
almost 10,000 feet is. I know for cyclists, they're like, oh, that's a typical training camp ride over that distance. But for
That's
for
a tough
an
day on
Ironman,
the
it's
bike.
yeah.
That's the reason why I ask.
Yeah.
I'm so curious about this.
Yeah.
That's a big day on the
this
bike to
is-
climb 10,000
and this
feet.
is the other thing to think about with a road bike. On a road bike, yes, you can put out more power and it's better for climbing. But the other thing is you're putting out more power, which means
Yeah, you're
your run legs,
sacrificing
your
something
run
later.
legs are going to be toast. And I can say that after.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so I brought my road bike for this weekend in Bellingham.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I loved training with the guys while they're on their aero bikes, and I know I'm putting out more power in my road bike and getting good training there. But those runs off the bike felt hard because when you're on a road bike and you're climbing a ton, you're climbing great, but now you get off and your quads are not liking you very much. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Is it my turn?
Let's go, Jake.
Yeah, Jake, let's hear your
All right.
goals.
What is something that you would
Oh wait,
say
Jake,
has?
did you say goals?
Oh, my goals? I thought
Yeah, we
were
only
on to my
covered
question.
Matt. We never got to Evan or Jake.
Oh, okay.
We got to the important part though.
Yeah. All right. I'm boring. I just want to get back to being me. That's just my only thing. I don't want to put any pressure on myself of performance goals for this year, other than just trying to get back to being me and getting healthy within my body here. I've got a bunch of stuff that I'm still dealing with, and I've still got a ways to go. I'm definitely a heck of a lot better, but I'm just not myself. And when I can comfortably say that I'm racing at the level that I was at prior to this, at a Cat 2 level, then I'll be a happy camper. And until then, it's just going to be continuing to keep the nose to the grind and just kind of try and keep doing everything that I can to get strong and fit.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here and kind of call BS on that, because Jake's shape right now in fitness is what he was last year this time.
It's not.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you PR'd at Jack Frost.
I don't know, tailwind. I don't know what.
There was not a tailwind
You're
there.
like, let me come up with an excuse. Insert excuse
I don't know.
here.
I'll say it
Yeah.
like I said
I
on the
was
last
more arrow.
podcast. I listened to you guys on the podcast that we talked about time trialing,
what
and I tried a different position. I think it was a little bit more aerodynamic. My power
Don't give
numbers,
us credit here. We have no idea what we're talking about. Are you kidding me? That's
my power numbers were less. Now, granted, that could have been because I forgot to calibrate my
tailwind.
exactly. So it's tailwind. Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm just not back there now.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it, right? There's different parts of racing and bike handling and all these different things that I'm sure are
That's
are
right there.
different.
So yes, I might have decent fitness, but my whole body, it's like once you
Yeah.
the higher you get in racing, the more you have to be a complete all around person. And I've got too many weak links right now. Like my core is a weak link, my upper body strength is a weak link, my flexibility is a weak link. Just bike handling skills right now are still kind of a weak link. Granted, the fact that I've gotten back on the mountain bike and I feel comfortable going out to do that. This past weekend was a huge vote of confidence for me to know that I could finish that. Granted, I finished with less than fumes in the tank, if you will, of my shoulder. But that was a huge vote of confidence for me because being able to get back on the mountain bike, we've talked about this before, it's a good cross-training component for me. And even like when I was doing my my ride, gosh, what was it, on Friday? It was the day before. I was going out to do my leg openers, and I was going out to kind of get some bike handling skills on the mountain bike before the race, just to know for sure that I was in a good spot. It felt so good. Like I was riding the mountain bike on the road going uphill to get out of the saddle, lock out all of the suspension, and just to rock that thing back and forth. And you feel yourself engaging like your core muscles, your hips a little bit differently. You feel your back engaging and your whole shoulder girdle like engaging a little bit differently. I felt my muscles working out. And I joked with the guys at the race this past week, and everybody kept coming up to me like, how'd your shoulder do? How'd your shoulder do? I said, you know what? It was like doing a month of physical therapy in an hour and 45 minutes.
It's like doing a month of Evan's stupid push-up workouts.
Yeah, but you know what? I wouldn't have been able to do it without you, without going to physical therapy.
Well,
I would not have been able to complete that process.
You committed to a very hard strengthening program as soon as we were able to, which I think is definitely paid dividends. But I agree with you. I think for Jake goal-wise this year, I think everybody at this table and Lance knows Jake can throw out results. But like you said, I know in those open 1-2 fields, when you get into those group sprints, I mean, that is it's a
Different
power
beast.
fest, and it's not just how much wattage you can put through the pedals.
When I'm racing with the Pro 1-2s out at like PRR, for instance, I'm not going to be the fastest guy out there because there's guys that are half my age that are faster and stronger than me, but I can keep up with them. If you were to go put me in there right now and say, go keep up with them, I don't think that's going to happen. And that's what I'm going to use as my litmus test as to whether or not I'm getting back there. If I can get in there and I can finish in a top 10 at a Portland International Raceway road bike race with, say, 50 other people, I know that I'm doing better. And, maybe someday I'll get strong enough and maybe they'll encourage me enough to, train a little bit harder so I can try and get on a podium in one of those races. But I've just got a lot of work to do, and I'm doing it. And I'm fine with that. You make a good point. Calling BS on me, that's fine and well, but I'm not trying to put that pressure on myself because if I do that, then I'm just going to get frustrated because I'm not there. And that's one thing that I've learned through this whole process is it's much better for your psyche if you just take things one day at a time and just take the little wins where you can get them and just kind of stack those on top of each other. So it's just like every day I turn a page, throwing out all these cliches, turn a page and start writing another page in a chapter of this book that you're going through.
What was the group sprint that you crashed in last year? Because I remember before that race we were talking and you kind of like reflected the same thing. You're like, I hope I can just be there like when the
Yeah.
move happens.
I got taken out at Cherry Pie, the Cherry Pie
and
Road
you were
Race.
in position to, I mean, I know,
Yeah.
we can always throw out what ifs. You were very well in a position there to be really, contending for that podium there.
There were a couple sprinters that I know can throw down.
Yeah.
They didn't make it to the final.
Yeah.
The final part of that race. So, and I'm kind of sizing people up, and I know that there were a couple really strong guys there.
Mm-hmm.
And as a matter of fact, there was one of them who went down as well. That he's
Was that
probably
the guy right in front of you that went down? Who was that?
He was to my right.
Okay.
But anyway, just looking around and kind of sizing myself up, I'm like, I've got legs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, I think I've got them. I think I can throw down more power. And if I get the right wheel and everything kind of lines up the way that it was, I've got a pretty good chance of landing on the podium and maybe even at the top of the podium. That's kind of a pipe dream, and we'll never know. And that race still bothers me to this day.
know.
I still
No,
play it out and like, what would have happened if we didn't go
Well,
down?
that video
How
is just
would have
tough to watch because your positioning was so good. That is a tough video to watch. I can't imagine being the person in that position. For us watching it, it's tough because it was
just seeing the guys finish. I'm like, I could have beat that guy. The guy that
Yeah.
won, I could have beat him.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
tis bike racing.
So,
yeah.
but that's my goal for this year is just to continue taking it one day at a time and get a little bit stronger, and then hopefully by the end of this calendar year, I can be somewhat close to where I was at before I crashed. But I don't. That's another thing. I don't even know if I'll ever get back to that point. Honest to God, don't know. So
Evan, did you talk about your goals for the?
No,
Do you want to?
I've been
goal it up.
No, I've been pretty public. I don't
Yeah.
want to be like for me going into this season, just because I've been lucky to stay healthy, knock on wood, and I definitely have not had to go through what Jake has had to go through the last 9 going on 10 months here. For me, I'm being very honest with what I expect of myself so that I can actually keep myself honest too.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with being disappointed if I don't hit these. Like, I understand that some of these goals probably won't happen, but I would like to go under 4 hours this year in a half Ironman.
That would be neat.
Whether that's this one coming up
Wow.
in Galveston or probably, I think I could have a shot at Santa Cruz. It's a tough course, but I think
Yeah.
I could have a shot, and maybe doing one other pretty fast one, maybe Boulder 73 or Palm
Right.
Springs 73 to end the season.
Okay.
Those would be the type of courses that it could maybe happen
Right.
on. It won't happen at Chattanooga.
No.
Chattanooga's way too tough of a course, so I'm not even going to put that pressure on.
Yeah. Gotcha.
If I do Pacific Crest, I know it's not going to happen there.
Nope.
So yeah, that's my first goal, like my achievable goal, is under 410 in 3 weeks, and that's almost to me like a requirement goal. Like if I don't do that, I'm going to be very heavily disappointed in myself.
Well, I don't know if you should. These time goals are very difficult, right? Because I mean, I'm saying this completely hypocritically, but I was just talking about breaking time.
Yeah.
But like, you just don't know what the weather's gonna be like. You
Yeah.
don't know what the wind's gonna be like. You don't know even what the competition might
Race
be like.
dynamics, yeah.
So I don't know. Don't get too hung up on 410.
Yeah.
I mean, just think of it like season opener and an opportunity to go fast potentially.
Yeah.
It might be.
And there's going to be some really fast guys at Galveston. So honestly, instead of for me, just season goals going into this year is just to not be intimidated on any start line. Like when one guy who I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure Matt Hansen has just said he's going to be at Galveston.
Oh, that's cool.
One of the best American Ironmanners right now. One of the best at Kona.
He's-
Probably top 5 right
He's
now in
super
America.
legit, and he can run.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so just being able to toe the line with him is I'm lucky to do. So, going up to that line and not feeling like I need to give anybody any space or, respect them but not respect them at the same time.
Right.
At the start of the race, I'm going to do my best not being an elite swimmer to not get busted around, and I'm going to make sure that, I do everything I can to get onto a pack in that swim. So,
Right. Race date on that one again is
April, it's like the second weekend in April.
second week in April. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Let me look, actually. I think it's
Yeah. It's coming up though.
early April. Yeah. So goals wise though, that's basically it, is go under 4 hours, or second goal would be try to creep into a top 10 this year at some point.
Yeah.
be awesome.
I think that's very reasonable.
Yeah.
Crazy times. Jake, do you have a hot seat question for the group?
Did Lance answer his own question though?
Oh, no.
Yeah. I
you
want to
did
hear
not.
Lance's answer to this too.
Is your goal to be
Yeah.
in Hawaii on the beach?
Because you already made that goal.
Yeah, my goal, mission accomplished. What I'm really hoping to be able to do this year, and you guys have, I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm just hoping to get back on a podium. After moving up categories,
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to get on a podium in a cross race and hopefully get on a podium in a road race. So those are kind of my.
Someone has a new cross
goals.
age racing age this year.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited about that. So I'm 48. I turned 49 this year, but next your cross racing age is the same. It's the age that you turn in the year that the season finishes. Well, the cross season goes past December into January and February, which means I will be 50 next year, which means I can race in the 50 plus categories during the cyclocross season this year. So
I thought you were 38.
So some people might be saying, "Oh, 50, that sounds old." No. Cross racing at the age of 50 is insane. How many guys are like past like national champions or just like state champions racing up here in the Ober racing circuit?
Yeah, there'll be there's 4 or 5 of those guys that are past national champions or past elite level cyclocross racers. So the 50 field is not a step back. It will still be
These hombres
extremely competitive.
are fast. So they could probably still go race in the elites and still hang, correct? For the most part?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them can.
This is not an old comment, so everybody take this with a grain of salt. I feel like cyclocross would be a really hard sport to do beyond the age of 50. Like, that is a brutal sport.
I think
it does.
I think as you get older, like falls are more difficult, and I think
it's
anytime
like
where
the quickness off the bike is what I'm thinking of. Is like the quick twitchy nature of cyclocross.
Yeah,
I'm getting some looks from the older people at the table here. I should probably stop right now. Lake, can you come over here real quick and help me out?
Lake is asleep in that hammock right there.
That's
you
where
can
Lake.
see on the.
Does Lake fall into that millennial category?
I'm pretty sure Lake's firmly in that millennial category.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty bad representative of the millennial population.
I got a question for you. You guys might need to take a second to think about this one. But what is something in either cycling or triathlon that has become cliche? That is just like one of those things you're like, oh, come on, man. You got to stop with that, or you don't do that anymore, or stop using that, or stop going there. What is something out there in the cycling land or triathlon land?
What about like that triathletes don't know how to bike? I mean, it's cliche because we have that reputation of that being the case. There are very good cyclocross racers that race triathlon. There are cases in some ways that that disprove that cliche, but at the same time, I sometimes when you're time trialing on smooth roads or whatever, the cycling is dumbed down enough that the triathletes aren't necessarily the best bike handling skills. But I do think that that's kind of that stereotype for sure that triathletes don't know how to bike.
I'll take that a step further.
Okay.
So I am not trying to sound like an elitist here, but when we're talking about the pro triathletes are very good amateur triathletes, these groups of people were and are elite at 1 or 2 of the sports of the 3. And I'm really tired of things like Slow Twitch. Does everybody here know what Slow Twitch is?
This is a website for
Slow Twitch is like, I apologize if anybody's a huge fan of Slow Twitch listening to this, but there's no bigger group of couch warriors than Slow Twitch. You got a bunch of people getting on there talking trash about elite, people in endurance sports in general. And the trash that they talk and the venom that they talk with is unbelievable. And it's those comments like on Facebook when you read and you're like, who are you? It's this this is the venom-ridden comment on somebody who you don't even know.
The anonymous internet
keyboard
comments
warrior
are somewhat dangerous, right?
I read one where they were talking about could the ITU triathletes be professional in any of the 3 sports? And there were people on there saying, no, there's no way in heck. And you look at some of these guys. I mean, so a Christian Blumenfeld, for example, has an FTP of over 400 watts.
That's insane.
And is not a big guy. He's a guy who also runs under 30 minutes for a 10K. If you gave that guy 1 season, he could be a pretty solid cyclist, and he could also probably be
good runner.
Very good runner. Yeah. it's not like out of this world to think that these guys are elite in these sports. They just have a massive amount of training volume in 3 sports.
Right.
And do most of them have one sport where they would have no shot at being a pro at? Probably. If you're a great swim biker, you may not have a shot at ever being a pro runner.
Right.
Or if you're a great bike runner, you may not ever have a shot of, lining up against, a group of professional swimmers. But I completely agree with Matt. I think that's an old adage that kind of needs to go away because at the top end of the triathlon sport, there's a lot of elite guys coming in and out of that now.
And you have people coming from professional biking into this, into triathlon.
Cameron
Yeah.
Wood
whatever it is.
rode
right?
for Cannondale in the
Yeah.
tour.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I mean, does he have bike handling skills? I assume he does.
I'm pretty sure after
he
riding the
would-
tour, he does.
He
Yeah.
would put all of us to shame, I assume,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's okay. I think it's, you have these things because, they're steeped in history of what our sport has been, and that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
we have that reputation, and that's okay.
So,
Yeah.
to contradict your point,
Sure. That's easy.
This is gonna be an easy one to argue
So-
You can
against.
use me for an
you
example.
get triathletes, and and I don't want to throw my wife under the bus here, but
Sure.
she's a good example of this,
Uh-huh.
of somebody that has been a running person for a while now. And
Right.
she's getting better at running.
Right.
She's starting to get more PRs, and she's getting faster, and she's layering up over the years now. And now she's decided to take on triathlon. Now she's got no bike handling skills at all,
Right.
Because she just doesn't have a history of riding a bike
Because
a lot.
she's new to biking.
But
right?
she's she's getting stronger on the bike.
Yeah.
You know how? She's sitting on a trainer, and
Yep.
she's not getting those crucial bike
Yeah.
handling skills. So, and speaking in that breath, there are a lot of people that come to the sport and realize, like, I really want to do this. This could be fun. This could be my new thing. I just don't have time to do all of these things. It's super convenient? Getting up before the sun comes up, sitting on the trainer and getting my fitness workout in, or doing the same thing after work.
Yep.
They're not getting bike handling skills, and then they go out to a race, and then all of a sudden there's
Yes.
other people out there, and you're riding in the real world, and you're
Yeah.
crashing all
So
over the place.
I think this is a new
Yeah.
phenomenon. I think this is new, and I think I'm placing all the blame on Zwift, and I'm not necessarily, I wouldn't just tie this down to triathletes, because you definitely are going to see this.
I've
and
heard this in the cycling world
I think you're gonna
too,
see this
from,
in-
from,
I
from
think-
friends of mine who race 1-2. They say that there are guys who come out of the winter in the 1-2-3 fields,
Yeah.
who it's like they haven't ridden in a group in 4 months. Yeah.
I think we're going to see more of this in the next couple years, and I think it literally is like, I'm blaming Zwift, and it's going to be a lot of people. I'm guessing it's more people in the 4.5s that have all this power and don't know how to handle it, which, I mean, I'm lacking both of those problems.
I would
don't have the
love
power
to
either.
have enough power that I couldn't handle
Yeah.
it. That would be great.
Yep.
I unfortunately can handle my small amount of power.
Right.
so-
And push those 100 watts.
Yeah.
It's,
Most people in triathlon, what background do they most typically come from?
Yeah, that's a great question because we've encroached. I haven't seen any stats on that. If you had to take a guess, Matt, what would you say?
running. or
That's
something.
what
that
I
was
would
going to
say.
be
They
my guess. Was
don't-
running.
They
I was
typically
gonna say
don't
running.
come from biking backgrounds. So,
And that's the easiest one for them to learn how to do efficiently.
yep.
Yeah.
I came from a simultaneous background. I started road racing the same year that I started triathlon.
Yeah, so
actually.
you're
Yeah.
going to go against the grain of that stereotype
Yeah.
because you've got those,
But I did
those
realize that was
skills.
not common. Yeah.
So,
You do get like people that have swam growing up swimming and they do triathlon, and you get people that were runners and they come in and they do triathlon, and you get a lot of people that didn't do sports growing up and they come in and they want to do triathlon.
Or did baseball or soccer or
Sure.
football.
Yeah. So
I know a lot of hockey players who got into triathlon.
Yeah.
Actually, I know a lot of hockey players who became really good cyclists.
that makes sense. Well,
When you look at those guys' legs,
not
oh
for
my
nothing,
gosh.
but a lot of their strength and conditioning coaches use structured cycling programs to work
Yeah.
on their fitness.
Same
So,
thing with rowers.
yeah.
rowers.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh, some of
that's
the
what I was
best
thinking
cyclists
of.
I've met come from rowing.
Yeah.
I mean, similar move. You think about it's a very similar, comparable motion.
So Matt, you say that that's a cliche that you'd like to see go away. It's
Oh, I'd love to see it go away. I'd love to see our
People
I'd
stop.
love to see triathletes having better bike
I think me
handling
and Matt have to
skills.
get a little bit faster before that's just going to go away.
I don't think it's going away. I don't think that stereotype or cliche will go away.
yeah. Here's my tip to those people who are triathletes that feel like they don't have great bike handling skills.
Bike race.
Buy a mountain bike. Go ride your mountain
There you go.
bike.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't have to go race. Just go
should-
ride a mountain bike.
Jake should be looking directly at me when he says that.
I invited you to go out last week,
Yeah.
but you were at home with a sick kid.
Yeah,
I told you to
I guess.
jump on the cross bike and we can
So,
go.
so I'll defend the cyclist comment on this too from Jake. I think also where that comes from, and this is what I'm just trying to remember what I was always picked on because it was always funny. Even coming from cycling,
Yeah.
I was always called the triathlete with cycling. I could never finish a race ever to save my life.
Yeah.
I would get in the final groups, and there was no chance I was ever going to win that sprint. And everybody knew there was zero chance I was going to win that sprint. And you know why? It's because the guy's the triathlete, and that's why. So I can see where that comes from. You very rarely going to meet a triathlete that has some awesome, like,
Kick.
yeah, like 5-second power.
And if you're the roadie out there who's having issues because you got no bike handling skills because you spend way too much time on Zwift, like
Get
Matt
off
said,
Zwift.
join a team. And don't go join Justin Wagner. If you're listening to this, we love you. We love ODZ, and you guys are all great. But
I feel like we need to throw out
join an
Justin.
IRL team, an in real life team, so you can go ride your bike outside, not inside on the trainer with the ODZ boys.
Wow.
They're great. Love them. They're doing good stuff. But
We have to have Justin come in to defend himself on here now.
No,
Because he is a
can defend
very
himself.
well-liked person.
Oh,
And he also
absolutely.
puts out probably about 100 more watts than I do on the bike. So
He is part of a team, I think. And
he is.
And
has he started racing outside this season yet? Do we know?
I
They
think
have.
the-
He
Trenton.
has done a couple of races
Yeah.
outside. Yep,
how,
already.
how is he doing, Lance? Do you know?
Oh yeah, I think he made the podium in one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good for him. Yeah.
Go, Justin.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to touch base with that boy one of these days.
We do.
that
Yeah.
would be great.
Yeah.
He's
We're
the
going to
best.
check and see if you're listening, Justin. If you are, hit us up on Facebook.
Yell angrily at us if you are.
All right.
He puts a lot of time on the trainer, though.
He does.
It's just,
He
yeah.
does.
Yeah, him and Evan, they could be the
I
best of
know.
friends. They're
Yeah, I
riding
know.
at the same time of the day, too.
We do. Yeah.
Lance, you got anything for us? Cliche that you-
I think one is that old guys can't be fast.
hey, there you
Maybe
go.
another one,
Sorry, Lance.
or millennials can't use technology.
Well, that's
Or
just
maybe-
true.
No, but I'm just joking. I think the old guys can't be fast is a cliche that maybe that's just what I hear my non-cycling friends say to me. But then you get in the cycling community and find these old guys that just crush you. So
Do you know what's
Anyway.
awesome about the endurance world, though? And I realized this with triathlon, too, Lance, and I'm sure you heard this. There's almost this adage of, like, oh, you'll be good at that distance when you get older, like, as you build up over the years and years.
Yeah.
And, I mean, yes, there's definitely a... I think there's a peak point there. I'm not sure if anybody in there who's 58 or 59 is being like, oh, yeah, I'll nail that Ironman PR once I'm 73 and have 50 years under my belt. But,
Yeah.
you know, I think...
right.
There is this
Right.
kind of cool part of endurance sports where you're right. It's unlike other things in life. At the end of the day, where I think years and years of built-up experience and endurance volume does breed benefits. You know, and it's not like playing basketball. I mean,
Right.
Well, I would love to hear somebody come on this podcast and prove me wrong that you could get better at basketball as you age, but I think
I
that
don't know.
it's not like those quick twitch sports in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all.
Good.
That's all for me.
Anybody else got one to share? Evan, what was yours?
Well, we've always
Mine was the podium.
The podium.
battle.
Gotcha.
we've definitely
Between
talked
the two.
about
Yeah.
just cyclists being a-holes and
Oh, you're stealing my Matt.
Sorry.
I'm hoping
That-
that I'm gonna just throw my thing out
Sure.
there. The whole thing that's cliche is the elitist attitude. I'm hoping that's
Yeah.
becoming cliche, and I've been working really hard and a lot of other people around just to kind of to make that go away and make
Yeah.
the new norm be like, you know, I love the whole thing. You're never too pro to wave. Like, wave to people, say hi, build community, network, be fun. You know, go out there and be competitive, but be a nice person at the same time. Be welcoming to new people. Make that elitist attitude that cyclists have had tied to them, that stigma that they've had tied to them for far too many years. Make that cliche, and if you're going to be cliche, then beat it. You know. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just my 2 cents.
I agree. I think it's just
Yeah.
that races also. I think the way to battle that elitist attitude is if you are one of those elites at a bike race, after the race, go up and talk to like a 4 or 5 or somebody who just did the race, like just did one of their first road races, and ask them how their race was. I think where sometimes that adage comes from, and this is in the lower levels and the higher levels, you get the person who after the race, all they are going to talk about is their race.
Yeah.
Period.
which I think is okay. I mean, like, so we should do this with triathlon races, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, like, there are some people that are going to be like, wow, Evan, you won that race, like, starry eyes, whatever. That's cool. But, like, at the same time, there's going to be a lot of people that want to talk to you and tell you about their race and how
I'm
they
much more interested in somebody
Sure.
else's race after the
and
race.
that's cool.
Yeah.
And I think we need to do a better job of, like, taking the time to listen or engage those
Yeah.
people or whatever it is. And it's like,
To
you know,
me,
like,
it's much more exciting to see somebody.
light up.
I'll say Blue Lake's an awesome example.
Yep.
I love going to Blue Lake and seeing the dialed tri members who are doing like one of their first triathlons.
Yeah.
Nobody should be asking me about my race there. My race there is boring. I have done a lot of these triathlons. This one is not topping the list in excitement. I want to hear about somebody's race who just did a triathlon for the first time and got their goggles filled with water and got kicked in the head at the buoy and had no idea what to do and got lost and had to grab onto the boat. That's a so much more exciting story. Same thing with like a bike race. Like, I mean, yes, a 1, 2, 3 race can be very exciting, but I know Jake gets true enjoyment from hearing somebody who's been on the trainer and terrified of getting into a bike race, going out in that 4 or 5 field and actually hung on to the group.
Yeah,
That's exciting to hear. Yeah. And see, like, there's something about watching somebody explain that for the first time versus watching like the old disheveled veteran like describe a group sprint again.
Yeah.
there's something not that exciting about that versus something really exciting being like, oh yeah, and then we got in this weird pace line thing where everybody was rotating, and I remember what Jake had told me about, you know, make sure you only hold up there for 5 seconds and don't way accelerate ahead because then the guy will yell at me.
All right. Have we all shared our cliche things?
Yes.
Everybody did.
We're all cliched out.
Anybody got any last little hot seat questions they want to throw out there?
I think Lance has one.
Lance, you got one? Or no, are you just agreeing with us that you got?
No, I don't have any more.
He's talking to the ocean out there.
All right, I've got one more that I'm going to put out there real quick, and then we'll jump into one last thing after that. If you guys were forced to sit down with a piece of paper and a pencil and design a race that could be anything, do you guys have anything in the back of your mind that could make for something really cool? It could be any kind of race. So what would it be?
Okay. So I've been actually thinking about this because I've been looking at adventure races as soon as I actually want to have fun with sports. So
Someday.
there's these cool swim series where they do a swim, run, and they island hop.
Oh, yeah. Those, okay, so these are cool. You have to go with a partner a lot of times.
Yes. You have
Okay.
to be tethered to a partner.
Those are cool.
I think it would be really cool to add mountain biking into there, like off-road mountain biking.
Totally.
There you go.
And you got to like island hop. So it's got to be like, okay, you swim from island A to island B, you bike across island B, you swim from island C to island D, and then you run across that island, and there's the race.
I agree. I think that'd be amazing.
That would be so much fun.
That would be pretty
And
cool.
you can even set that up for like 12 or 13 people, you know?
Yeah, I like the idea of a race where you finish somewhere. Like you go, like you
destination race. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you know, yeah, we're racing or whatever, but you are actually traversing this area to get to something, right? Like, I don't know, we've all done this probably, especially it's easier with biking than running or swimming or whatever, where you like, oh, I need to go pick up some Gatorade at the grocery store, so you go bike over there. And it's kind of like you're accomplishing locomotion by doing whatever it is with, you know, the thing that you're passionate about, biking or whatever. But I like the idea, the idea of like island hopping to get somewhere.
Yeah.
I would, I definitely think there's some fun mixes for sure. I would love to see some sort of race where you swim, you hop out, a triathlon, and where you swim, get out, maybe get on the bike and just climb, like just climbing or whatever. You climb up to something and then trail run afterwards. I would love to have a race like that where it's just kind of, again, somewhere
like an overland triathlon thing. I mean, if you remember,
Yep.
from what was that, September when you did that?
That was neat because there was no, it was just like, I guess we're going to, swim here because the finish line's over there. Like we have to swim across the lake, like to get to this spot or whatever it is. It was a cool setup for sure. And I think that there's room for those races to potentially, like something like that could be popular. Again, you kind of have to, even and more so than like cycling races or triathlon, you kind of have to throw times out the window.
Yeah.
Like people are always, how many miles per hour were you going? Like that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like we're
Nobody
climbing
cares.
straight
Yeah.
uphill, right? And we got to the finish line or whatever it is. I think some races like that potentially could be neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think anything could be fun. I don't know. Anything that we can come up with, I think it would be fun to kind of even dabble with it just with friends, just to go out and try something.
Yes.
And part of this was I saw it's coming back again for the 2019 summer race season. It's the best of both, and this one isn't like crazy, like in terms of like doing something really off the wall, but you start by doing a mountain bike course and then you finish on the road, if I'm not mistaken, or it could be the other way around. But you're doing two different disciplines, but it requires two different bikes, and there's a full-on transition area. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And I've always had this idea in the back of the head, and I'll go ahead and jump into mine. Kind of like a I don't know. It would be kind of. I would want to do it in a team setting, like a group of like 3 people or 4 people, and it would be kind of a time trial, and it would start with probably. I was thinking like road to start, and then you go to a transition area where your mountain bike's staged there for you. Then you go do a mountain bike ride, and then you get to a section where you could, if you wanted to, you could stay on your mountain bike, but it's more geared towards like a cross or gravel bike, and which would be faster. So you could have another transition there. And then you would finish on the road again, and you could stay on your gravel bike if you wanted to, but it would make more sense to transition to like a time trial bike.
Oh, cool.
And you would have to finish in, you'd have to have like 3 of your 4 people, like whatever a team time trial would be, would have to be intact and then get through that. And you would have to go through all of these different transitions and make it there in the least amount of time. And to do something like that would be spectacular.
I love the idea of having like you have to have 3 of your 4 people or something like that, because then there's some interesting strategies too, where you're like, hey, let's burn this candle, let's burn this guy out.
Yeah, that would be fun.
You put him out front and just let him pull for a little while or whatever it is.
It's like a cycling triathlon. I really like that, like a cycling team triathlon. That's pretty cool.
And you get to ride multiple bikes. You get to see like all of the terrain that you could potentially throw at somebody. And the road to start on the road could be really like hilly, and that would make sense because you want to be on a road bike.
Do you know where this could be done, like reasonably done? Would be a place like Bend.
Yeah, probably.
Like Bend has enough like mountain biking right next to good flats and climbing.
Yeah.
That you could have like a road bike session that has a long climb in it.
Yeah, I've kind of already thought about this. We can actually do it here in our own backyard. We've got the hills of Washougal. And that would be the start on the road bike, and then you would ride to a place kind of out by Livingston Mountain, and you would go and you would do the Tarbell Trail system, which is full-on mountain bike, and then you get off the mountain bike and there's gravel roads out there, and you can take the gravel roads and potentially get to some flatlands where you would finish out by Vancouver Lake, which is bone flat, and that would incorporate all 4 disciplines in our own backyard. That would be a lot of fun, and it would be fun. It doesn't even have to be sanctioned. It could be like gumball style. You just kind of go out there. Yeah. There's no race regulations. It's like, hey, these are our starting points. Here's the GPS coordinates, and you put your team together. I'll put my team together. Any other teams want to put together?
Yeah,
we're gonna do this race.
Trailers out for different bike swaps.
Yeah, you could definitely do that. And every time you go and do a swap, you would have a station where all the bikes would be kept in. We could go rent a couple of U-Hauls and have some designated drivers and throw some bike blankets on them and transport the bikes to wherever they need to be.
We can make Lance's van the official professional bike swap location. Lance, your van could do that, right?
So I could haul a few bikes.
Yeah. Maybe we could set that up as a charity fundraiser for our Bikes for Kids.
Crazy.
So I don't know. That's just something that's been bounced around in my head.
And then we could go to the skate park and do BMXing on there, and I could really go back to my childhood.
We should partner with Tireless Velo Team, because they know those Tarbell trails like the back of their hands.
Oh, yeah.
That would be a really good group to partner with.
Yeah, I've ridden out there a few times, and those are some fun trails. It's beautiful back there, too. So you got a race up your sleeve, Lance?
The thing that I think would be interesting for me would be a multi-race series where the races are in different destinations, so that you sign up for the whole series, and say there's a race in Portland, and then there's another race in Salt Lake, and there's another race in Boise, Idaho, and or another race in California, and you might be able to see different destinations and race in cool, interesting places that you haven't been to before by doing the whole series. I think that'd be cool. And it could be multidisciplinary as well.
Yeah. That would be cool, Lance, if cycling did something. I mean, think about triathlon has a national branded, I guess, tour of races. It's Ironman, and I mean, even places like Rev3 do that, do it really well. That'd be cool if cycling had like a U.S.
series like that.
I mean, I know there's obviously a U.S. USA Cycling.
They kind of have it with like a hill climbing series, right? But it would be super cool if they had some sort of just go, because you would see different people at all the different races. You would get to see all kinds of cool, different totally different environments for sure, which would be super neat.
Yeah.
Or what about this? How about a series just in Washington or Oregon, where it was, Lance, like you're saying, like a specific race series, but one's a road race, one's a mountain bike race, one's a cyclocross race, one's a time trial.
Yeah, you got gravel in there too somewhere.
Yeah, and then gravel, and you have 5 races each year, and it's a point system, so that you see who's the best all-around cyclist.
Yeah, that would be fun.
In this region, I think you could do that, because I think there's a large group of people that do all, check all those boxes.
Yeah. I don't do a lot of everything, but I do everything.
Some of
You know,
everything,
I
yeah.
I do some of everything, and when you go out there, you'd be amazed at how many people you see are in the same boat. There's a lot of people
Yeah.
that I'll roll up and I'm like, man, I've seen you at a time trial. I've seen you at a cross race. I've seen you at a mountain bike race now. That kind of stuff. And I was just thinking about that this past weekend because I saw a couple guys out there. And for a lot of you that don't know, I used to do a lot of mountain bike racing when I lived in Southern California. This mountain bike race that I did last week in the Echo race was the first mountain bike race I've done since I moved up here. I'm not counting short track. Short track,
Yeah.
in my opinion, doesn't count. So that was my first official mountain bike race in a little over 4 years. So that was kind of fun. And that was what made me think that comment was I saw some people out there with mountain bike race. I'm like, yeah, I've raced you and all kinds of
Like,
stuff. And
didn't I see you at the time trial?
Exactly. Yeah.
Slightly different.
Yeah.
So, but I think that there might be something there for everything that we just talked about. These are all some ideas, and not for nothing. That's a way that you kind of get new people into a sport. That's a way that you can kind of keep the sport invigorated and keep people excited about going out and riding bikes and knowing that there are multiple different kinds of bikes and different kinds of race formats. So you guys can expand upon the triathlon stuff or whatever it might be, and we can expand upon the cycling industry, and that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something there, you guys.
I like it.
Light bulbs are going
We
on.
started ion hopping. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's jump into one last thing, unless you guys got any other little things. Actually, I'm going to say no. We're deep into this one, and people are getting tired of listening to us talk. One last thing, Evan.
All right. My one last thing is, as I had mentioned to Jake earlier in this week. So there were some injuries early in the cycling season, in the professional cycling season.
Yep.
I'll be our like random update for the professional cycling
like
season
that,
over and
yeah.
over. Yeah. His name Bardell is looking very, very, very good in Paris-Nice.
Yep.
Sad news. Rigoberto Urán, a personal favorite of mine, and I think a lot of people who watch Bernal, my bad.
Egan Bernal?
Yeah. Bernal, thank you, Lance. Rigoberto Urán fractured his clavicle, I believe, and is going to be out for quite a few more weeks.
Will he be?
So-
He'll be back for some sort of summer something. Maybe tour.
I'm not sure.
He can ride on Zwift.
Yeah, he can definitely Zwift it up. We'll see because it's going to take a big chunk out of an important build period for